Hello, everybody. Very nice to meet you all. So today, here we are, and in Chat and Calm with our great host Scott. And today we are going to talk about a beautiful topic. I'm Sanjivana, and me and our host Scott. We are going to talk about marijuana, and I have a set of questions to ask Scott, who's a wonderful business coach, and he had been in the business field for a very long time. So I am asking because I really want to know, and there are so many, I would say, misinformations, false ideology, and all in most places. But there are places they show the benefits and all also. But I'm sure so. Scott knows much more than me. So Scott, like I would like to hand it to you, and please tell us like the
Okay.
qualifications you have to talk about this specific topic, uh,
hmm
and
Yes.
about yourself.
Okay. Hi, all, and thanks for joining us on another edition of Chatter and Calm. And through his very eloquent introduction, Sanji brought about the topic that we're going to today. He brought about the topic we're going to discuss today, and but I don't know if Sanji actually mention what the topic is, which and today we're going to be talking about cannabis. It's
Mhm.
also known as marijuana, weed, ganja. There are so many different phrases and so many different cultures because it's a substance that's been in use for, and I just saw this today, for 12,000 years, it seems. They found pottery and pieces of fibers
Mhm.
from the cannabis plant in northern China 12,000 years ago. And it's also it's a very important thing because it's a very interesting thing, and I do feel it's important also. But it's something that we as a species have been working with for a long time. And just so anyone who listens doesn't get the idea that I'm just sitting here talking about cannabis because I had the ability to read a magazine, and there's a
Mhm.
very interesting magazine. A lot of people are familiar with this magazine. It's been around forever, National
National
Geographic.
Geography.
I picked this up a little while ago, maybe 2 months
Okay.
ago. I saw it at the store because
Okay.
it caught my attention.
Sure.
I have been and I flipped through it. I've been flipping through this last yesterday and reading the articles just to see if they're well written and if they're factual and if they stay away from the emotional, scary component that sometimes authors try and portray cannabis in. But let me take a step back first, and because Sanji asked me to present my qualifications to speak on this,
Mhm.
and it's more than just because I bought a National Geographic magazine. Um, since well, I mean, personally, my first experience with cannabis was um, my first personal experience in terms of consumption was probably at the age of 16.
Mhm.
And as a rebellious teenager, just like many of us, and I consumed cannabis as a teenager, out of fun, as not just rebellion.
Mhm.
But and then even prior to that, I grew up. I was largely the the child of hippies,
Uh-huh.
and I was exposed to cannabis growing up as a child, um, and both in a social context and a private context. My my parents, and it wasn't my mother, but my father consumed cannabis. He always claimed it helped him sleep, but he also smoked cannabis pretty much from the time he got off work, and then
Mhm.
on weekends as as just for fun. So I the first time I remember coming across cannabis, I think I might have been 10 or 12.
Ah, 10
But
or
then
12.
outside from the personal experience, I've worked in cannabis for about 13 years now. I have
13.
yes, I um, um, in 2012 I uh, left one field of work. I'd been in finance for 20 years,
Mhm.
and in 2012 I felt it was time to leave finance. I wasn't happy with the industry really anymore,
Mhm.
and I was kind of I wanted to do something else with my life. And my brother was starting a cannabis company in the state of New Mexico in the
Mhm.
southern United States. And he had actually started his company in 2009 and asked me if I was interested in helping him. And in New Mexico at that point in time, New Mexico had legalized cannabis for medicinal use only.
Mhm.
And he got his license, which is a very time-consuming, arduous, expensive process
Mhm.
because you have to put everything together. You have to put your store, your growing facility, and your processing areas together, and rent buildings and create all this area, all this space to do the work, and then the state comes and licenses you, but they check everything. And just
Mhm.
because you put it together and spend all that time and money doing it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll get a license.
Uh-huh.
So it can be very, very expensive. No, it can. It is very expensive. We're talking about costs. You can't even begin to start this with
Mhm.
less than about $250,000.
Oh,
And that's on the very, very low end of things.
low end.
No, my brother started in 2009 in New Mexico, and then in about 2012, he asked me if I'd come help him, and I was, thinking about changing industries anyway.
Mhm.
So I felt it was a great idea, and I thought that there'd be a lot of growth in the industry, at least legalized cannabis, for a long time. And so I moved to New Mexico and started working with my brother. And as I said, New Mexico is medicinal.
Mhm.
And when you're looking at cannabis industry, you kind of have three different phases. Or saying one is production, which is growing the plant. Two is processing, which is making things from the plant. But that also includes drying,
Mhm.
removing the flower from stems and trimming it, and then making things out of the various parts of the plant. So, yeah, I was saying, my brother really enjoyed the production side of the industry, which is
Mhm.
growing, and he asked me to take over the processing and retail side of things.
Mhm.
So from 2012, 2000, late 2014, I worked with him in his company in New Mexico,
Uh-huh.
and we grew there from we were doing about uh, quarter million a year when I started, and we were doing a little bit over a million a year,
Mhm.
$1 million a year in business when I left. And when I left,
Mhm.
I I went to at that point in time there are only three states in the U.S. In which recreational cannabis was legal, and the
Mm-hmm.
difference between recreational and medicinal is obvious. Medicinal, you're taking cannabis uh, for relief or to help heal,
Mm-hmm.
and recreational is just consuming cannabis for fun.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, and at that point in time, there are only three states in which recreational cannabis was legal, and
Mm-hmm.
that was Washington and Colorado. And then I say three states. The third at that time was Washington D.C., the District of Columbia, which is where the nation's capital is on the East Coast. And
Uh-huh.
then a couple, say about half a year after that, Oregon jumped into the fray. But into late 2014, I drove up to Washington State. I packed up my truck, drove up, stayed on a friend's couch for a couple months, and started my own cannabis company in the recreational market of Washington.
Uh-huh.
And then so that was I was licensed in Washington late 2015. It did take roughly a year to secure a facility, get it built out, and
Uh-huh.
then get the state to approve my license.
Uh-huh.
And when you talk about these costs, so you have to build everything out, and you have to pay rent with no revenue stream. So it does get to be kind of expensive.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then, so yeah, that brings us 2025. I do still currently have four brands of various forms of recreational cannabis selling in the
Wow.
state of Washington.
Uh-huh.
And currently, I am evaluating um, trying to sell those brands in other states as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, you know, Sanji had some questions
Sure.
that we shared before this, and one of the first questions is, "What is cannabis?"
Yeah.
And that's funny. I mean, cannabis is a plant. Here's a picture.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
it's many leaves, and we'll have other pictures we'll post
Sure.
um, when this is saved online for
Mm-hmm.
future use. But cannabis has been around forever and ever. It's just a plant that grows. In terms of its relationship with human beings, we can trace that back to 12,000 years in northern China.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating because cannabis, it's also known as hemp, um,
Mm-hmm.
has been used by human beings for a long, long time. Not, say about we have evidence, strong evidence, going back 12,000 years to northern China, and its use. It's been known to help with certain types of pain, and it helps sleep, and
Mm-hmm.
numerous possibilities. But also, certain types of cannabis grow very, very tall, and
Sure.
it's been used as a fiber,
Fiber.
like
Uh-huh.
cotton. So uh, you see cannabis or that's not called cannabis. Let's call that particular plant hemp.
Hemp.
And
Uh-huh.
hemp has been used for thousands of years as in clothing
Clothing, no?
or or ropes. Is very, very important
Uh-huh.
fiber, probably for thousands of years for sure. Let's
Mm-hmm.
not say thousands, but hemp has been used in rope making for 1,000 years at
Mm-hmm.
least. So important that even when the United States was first settled by the English in the mid 1600s, let's call it, the King of England mandated that every farmer in the U.S. Grow 100 hemp plants, and
100.
those were used in the manufacture of of ropes for ships that were sailing.
Ropes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay.
It's a very strong fiber. It lasts. It can get wet. It doesn't degrade when it gets really wet. It's very very useful. It lasts a long time and does everything you need a good strong rope to do without degrading and breaking
Mm-hmm.
apart. Now, I've referred to hemp and cannabis. They
Mm-hmm.
are really and truly the same plant. The one criteria that separates the two is that cannabis, or let's say hemp, is defined as having less than 0.3% THC.
Uh-huh. What is that?
Now, THC is also that's a um, shorthand note for delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol,
Uh-huh.
and so that's a mouthful. So we just refer to it as THC or delta 9, and
Mm-hmm.
delta 9 is one of the substances or molecules that cannabis creates.
Uh-huh.
Now there are over 500 different types of compounds that are
Mm-hmm.
associated with the cannabis plant, and one subset of those is called cannabinoids.
Uh-huh.
THC is the most well-known cannabinoid from cannabis,
Uh-huh.
and it does have a lot of medicinal uses. But let's start with let's start with the recreational uses first.
True.
Typically, when one consumes THC, and you can consume it either by smoking in a cigarette shape, or people call it joints, pre
Mm-hmm.
rolls, reefers, or you can consume the oil that is extracted from the plant,
Mm-hmm.
and you can put in that in foods or beverages,
Mm-hmm.
and when you put it in foods and eat it, that's typically called an edible.
Edible.
And this is for the recreational side primarily.
Uh-huh.
And there are also other ways that people are consuming it. It's called vaping, which is when you take the extract from cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
and and uh, change is see the extract is a hard liquid. I have
Uh-huh.
a picture of it right here. Um,
Oh.
See, I say hard.
Uh-huh.
It
Can see.
doesn't. It's solid, but this is actually kind of liquid. And when you subject this to a high temperature, not even high, but say 120 degrees, it turns into a gas, and you inhale that gas. It goes in your lungs, and so it makes you. Um, how do you describe that? Have you ever tried cannabis, Sanji?
When I was a teenager.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So you kind of get. Mm, I consume cannabis on a relatively regular basis. I'll be
mhm,
honest,
mhm, mhm,
probably daily. I'd say it's rare that I don't consume it. And typically I don't consume it in the morning. It's usually I wait till I've gotten through most of my work, and it'll be about 6 o'clock when typically when I consume cannabis.
mhm,
But I'm searching for the right adjectives, the right words to
mhm.
describe cannabis usage on a recreational basis. I guess it kind of distracts your brain. It relaxes you,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's the primary reason people use it, is because
Uh-huh.
after a very very stressful day,
Uh,
you can consume cannabis, and it kind of brings your body down to a spot where you don't feel that stress.
oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Okay, and people often refer to it as well, being high or being stoned,
Uh-huh.
and the first time users will it makes things very funny.
Uh-huh.
But, let's digress a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about the history of cannabis. Well, human beings have used it for a long, 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 long time, and it's uh, we actually we have something in the body called the endocannabinoid system.
Mm-hmm.
So our body actually creates cannabinoids. It's and it's hard to explain because when you hear about that, one might be inclined to make this kind of assumption that human beings kind of evolved is the word I'm looking for, I guess, very
Mm-hmm.
close to the plant. And I don't know if that's entirely true,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we have used it for an extremely long time. Again, both for industrial purposes and for health and relaxation. And again, lots of times people will consume cannabis to like maybe to go see a concert or maybe before a meal because it does heighten a sense of flavor. It does heighten all your senses.
Mm-hmm.
See, THC is considered a psychoactive drug, so it affects the way your brain perceives things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, flavors will taste more. What's the best word to use there? More flavors will be more better.
Mm-hmm.
Colors will be more vibrant. Everything that you perceive will take on a little bit more heightened kind of sensitivity. Um, and that is the primary reason people consume cannabis is for that one cannabinoid, and it's called THC.
PhD.
Now there's another very common cannabinoid that is relatively recently, I'm not going to say discovered, but we're becoming more and more aware of. It's called CBD or cannabidiol. And CBD seems to be having a big insurgence in popularity because of its medicinal uses.
Mm-hmm.
It became very, very well known a little over 10 years ago here in the United States as a medicine to help people with seizures.
Uh-huh.
There was a young girl a while ago who became famous because she had something called Dravet syndrome, which is very, very debilitating seizures. She actually wasn't able to have any kind of normal life.
Mm-hmm.
She had these debilitating seizures that prevented her from even being able to learn. And taking CBD dramatically reduced her seizures.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of brings us around a little bit. Oh, also, and before I get into that whole, industrial and medicinal
Mm-hmm.
discussions
Sure.
of cannabis, it's also a very good food source. Cannabis produces seeds.
Huh.
They're extremely high in protein, and at the very least, protein and the oil that it produces is very, very healthy oil. It's very good for the body, and it's a very, very good hemp seeds are a very good food source.
For
And
sure.
from the seeds, you can also make hemp. You can grind them and make a hemp butter, kind of
Oh.
like peanut butter, and
Huh.
consume that. And again, it's very good. It's very relatively inexpensive to grow, and it's very healthy. So you have a plant that human beings have been working with for
Thousands.
thousands of years,
Thousands. Yeah.
and there's a good reason because not only does it provide nutrition and things that can be used for shelter or clothing, and
Mm-hmm.
for helping ships navigate,
Yeah, yeah.
and then for the other side, for recreation. So when you take all these things in consideration, it really is an amazing plant.
Mm-hmm.
It has so many great things, and it's really a shame. In the U.S. in 1937, cannabis was made illegal.
Illegal. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you scratch your head when you think about all the amazing things that the plant has provided
Mm-hmm.
to make it illegal. But that's a whole other discussion,
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
that's easy to take a
Uh,
lot of time to talk about that.
Scott, could I ask you a question?
Please.
Yeah, so I think today we cannot cover all the topics, but it will be a beautiful like episode. So we slowly go. I don't want to rush you or anything. Yeah, it's
No,
very interesting, and
no.
you have tons of like experiences and like knowledge to share about it. So question is one. We'll try to cover another topic or something. Yeah, according to
Yeah.
your way you feel comfortable. You said like people can are taking just to relax, right?
Hmm.
So uh, is it healthier than smoking like cigarettes and drinking alcohol?
That's a great question, Sanjay. I appreciate that you asked that. Right now, I think the best way to answer that question um, is by saying that, and I don't know what the figures are in the United States, much less the entire world,
Mm-hmm.
but they attribute a lot of deaths to cigarette smoking.
Yeah,
You
no.
know,
Uh,
typically smoking cigarettes causes cancer, and it
mm,
kills tens of thousands of people every year in the United States.
mm-hmm.
Alcohol, likewise, right? Alcohol, just the consumption of alcohol
Mm-hmm.
is very very toxic on the body, and let's use the criteria I'm starting with here. Deaths attributed to, there are tens of thousands of deaths attributed to smoking tobacco, and tens and tens of thousands of deaths attributed to consuming alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't just bad behaviors that are associated with alcohol drinking, but the actual consumption of alcohol. It's bad for your
Mm-hmm.
liver. It's degrading to the body. Up to this point, there have been no deaths attributed to the use of cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
So, stepping away from which is better and all that, you know, the cannabis doesn't. You've never had a
Mm-hmm.
no. I mean, you might hear anecdotally of a couple deaths that people attribute to cannabis here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing on the scale of tobacco and cannabis, again, which are responsible for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of deaths around the world
Mm-hmm.
year wide.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to say that cannabis is far safer
Perfect.
than either of those other things. Yeah, and you don't have the addictive tendencies with cannabis. A lot of people will say that there's a bit of a psychologically addictive component to cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
but I've heard and read and experienced firsthand that nicotine is one of the hardest substances to kick. It's one of the most
Mm-hmm.
addictive substances that there
Subject.
is. And we've all known lots of people, right, who are unfortunately addicted to alcohol, and
Mm-hmm.
see the horrible things that does to people over time. And people who smoke a lot of cannabis, your biggest fear with them is that they're just going to fall asleep.
Of course.
Hmm.
Yeah, here also
You know.
people say they are drinking because of alcohol, because of body pains
Hmm.
after work, just to relax. They say, but you see, like most of the cases, they're in violence. they're aggressive, and they
Yeah.
are like almost broke because of the addiction. And you
Yeah.
see like lineups of people in near bars, lineups, and these are big grown adults, like
Yeah.
like ready to go to school, right? Like you're,
Hmm.
so these guys like are really into it. And in some remote places also you can see like after their work they just start running. These are people I just asked. No, I was a monk for some time, and I asked like, why are you even taking it? No, like, and so and all of your money is most of the money you earned on day to day purpose daily. And you can see like
Yeah.
we used to live on a mountain, and you can see like they are like rushing to a place where they have liquor, and
Yeah.
like as if they are running to a school or something. Yeah, there's a lineup of people like going to those places, and
Hmm.
next day you ask like, hey, we saw you going, no? So so there's so, but these families, and when you see that, you don't see happiness there, right? You don't see like they are even the houses stages and all, and they seem very aggressive. They say it's for the body pains and they are working very hard and all this, but
Yeah.
it's more like addiction and violence and all this, and they are
Hmm.
in a lot of poverty also. I'm not telling
Yeah.
everybody's like that, but and it's surely like they get cirrhosis and a lot of things like that even, no?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think like, so we'll come to this point also, Scott. Like soon as you like go into the internet, and when
Hmm.
you check, they put like all the negative things. Huh? But like when you see, yeah, when you see like psychological problems, physical problems, no, long time problems, no, or anything, when you see
Yeah.
like the first thing you see is some lineup of these things. So we'll talk about these things later on. And but I
Yeah.
think smoking, and in the box also they put right the pack, smoking can cause lung cancer or something, no,
Yeah.
even sexual
Yeah. And
disorders,
yeah, they
right?
have pictures of like
Yeah,
a lung,
horrible pictures like.
someone that, but
And
yeah,
then
in
still
Vietnam,
people smoke, right? Even looking at those pictures every time, no? They pick
yeah,
up a
yeah.
cigarette. They have to look at
Hmm.
that and they still smoke.
Yeah.
So that
So it
doesn't.
gives you a good idea the level of addiction that substance causes. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Vietnam, it's the law on all those packages. They have to put a picture. I think it might be the same in Canada.
In Sri
And
Lanka also
sometimes
they put.
it's bad teeth, and sometimes it's the lungs.
Here it's
Uh,
worse. Like they show like a cancer victim with all those big lumps like things in the mouth and all.
yeah,
And when you look at, oh, like, oh,
yeah. And every time you open that package and
yeah.
smoke a cigarette, you're staring at that picture, and yeah, it makes you scratch your head. Yeah, either like, what's the matter with you people, or something like that. And
You please
uh,
continue, Scott. I was just putting this thing, and we'll talk about this also. There will be so many questions while you are going along because I think you're very well prepared for this. So, uh, yeah, if possible, we'll cover maybe another part of this or what you think is suitable, and then we do some
okay.
meditations also. I think we can go like few, uh, like a series even now with this.
Hmm.
And I don't want to stop
Yes.
you from sharing the details. Because if I just
Okay.
rush you, like, hey, Scott, like, we go to the next question. No, no, like, if you are going like this, because I don't know a clue, no? So,
Oh,
yeah, so,
no, no, it's fine, Sanjay. Yeah, no, let's roll. I like it. So, y- um, yeah,
what are the uses of this
you had a very
plant?
good question.
Like you mentioned, you already explained like what is cannabis, which was perfect. So,
Hmm.
more users like people can have. What are more users? Like you told about textile industry, you can use it as a food. Huh? So, and
Sure.
then what are the, yeah, please.
We're finding they're starting to make something called hempcrete, which is a combination of hemp and concrete that is being used in building as building materials,
Wow. Uh-huh.
and it's also a very good insulator. It's good as insulator,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah, yeah.
in the walls of buildings as they're being built.
Uh-huh.
Uh, actually, the fabric made from hemp, while it might be a little rough, it's very rugged
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen hemp being made hemp clothes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be a while before we're going to see. Well, it won't be that long. Just because all the industry, the textile industry, and textile is clothing industry is right now geared towards all the other, like silk, linen, cotton, wool.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we're seeing a lot of synthetic
Synthetic. It's not good even, no?
stuff. So the industry is really geared towards that, and once you start making clothes with hemp, it's kind of a whole other process.
Uh-huh.
So, but it won't be long before we see good natural hemp fiber clothing coming out.
So about the products, you were talking about only the parts like for relaxation or like
Hmm.
so please tell me more. And you talked about clothing, ropes, these kind of things, and which it seems very healthy, like especially the fabric because now they say when because of the body temperature and the porous so like the parts of our body skin expands
Hmm.
and this is the biggest organ in the body, right? And when we use
Exactly.
like artificial fabric,
Hmm.
it's actually penetrating into our body. Yeah, those
Really?
chemical. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
a simple
That's
thing.
that.
That's why they always say go for cotton, go for wool, and here we have hemp, which is like a great natural thing, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
those chemicals and all actually go into, and we are wearing it now.
Yeah.
So when we like kind of like when it heats up, uh, through our
Hmm.
skin, it can the skin is like our biggest organ, no? It's everywhere.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's
So,
that's a fact that not many people are aware of. Our
uh-huh.
the skin is the biggest organ on a human being,
Mhm.
and because it's so big, um, it, you know, things that are constantly in contact with our skin make sense. Will leach into our bodies, and I
Mm.
wasn't aware of that. But
Uh-huh.
and I'm looked at as a snob by a lot of my friends and even some of my family members because I do make I make a pretty solid effort to not wear clothing
Mhm.
made from synthetic sources.
Uh-huh. That's a good
I
thing.
don't think I have any hemp clothing,
Uh-huh.
but natural fibers are the way to
Cotton.
go. And
Yeah.
I mean, stuff from synthetic made, synthetic clothing is typically made from it's a petroleum byproduct,
Mm.
and I just it doesn't feel good. It doesn't. The nice thing about natural fibers, and I'll stop this because we're talking about hemp, not clothing,
Mm. Sure, sure.
is that over time they adjust and conform to your body, and that's why it's so nice to
Mm-hmm.
wearing clothes that you've worn for a while that are made with natural fibers because they
Uh-huh.
over time they adjust and conform to your body,
Uh-huh.
and they breathe
They breathe,
through.
yeah? Yeah.
Mhm. Whereas synthetics really don't breathe, and they don't have that adjusting period to your body,
Mm-hmm.
and they degrade a lot faster. And no, it's horrible. And gosh, I didn't know that the stuff leached into your body. That's terrible.
Mm.
Um,
So, Scott, please can you tell me like what are the products they are doing for like medicinal purposes with
yeah,
cannabis or
that's a
hemp?
good question. One product is a simple capsule, a gel cap that is one way, and that gel cap is just a pill. The cap is
Mm.
it's made from,
Gelatin?
thank you, gelatin,
Uh-huh.
and you fill the gelatin with an oil
Oil.
that is like this. I
Oh.
mean, this doesn't appear as an oil. now because of the temperature, but if you heat this up another 20 degrees, it starts running.
Uh-huh.
And they'll mix this with, because this right here is, I'd say, probably about 85% CBD.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no THC in this. This is cannabidiol. And what they'll do is they'll heat it up a little bit and then they'll add it to another type of oil because 80% that's very, very potent.
Mhm.
And yeah, you'd feel, yeah, it might be difficult to conduct. Let's just say I wouldn't recommend operating heavy machinery
Mhm.
when you consume tremendous amounts of cannabis.
Mhm.
But it does make you feel very relaxed, and it's very good in dealing with anxiety. Oh, but we're talking about ways of consuming it: gel caps, or and they also make tinctures, which is when you put the extract in a in with other liquid. Whether sometimes they use hemp oil
Mhm.
that is extracted from the seeds that doesn't have CBD or THC, and
Mhm.
mix the CBD with that, and they'll put in something called a tincture, which it's a small bottle, and you can just take drops of that
Drops.
under the tongue sublingually. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I I remember when I first started working for my brother in New Mexico, he had a product that was called a sublingual spray. It was just a little bottle like this, and you sprayed some beneath your tongue,
Mhm.
and then you hold it there for a little bit before you swallow. And then other ways, I think it's a very valid means of consumption for medicinally, smoking it,
Mhm.
because you feel it very quickly. When you smoke it, the smoke goes into your lungs. And then from your lungs, it very quickly goes throughout your bloodstream and up into your brain and throughout your body. And see, and here's one of the fascinating things I was touching on earlier. Our body has something called the endocannabinoid system, and there are actually two. There's one that's kind of focused up around your brain,
Mhm.
and then your spinal cord, and then the other's focused around your spinal cord and your body.
Mhm.
And when you consume cannabis, it hits your endocannabinoid system and then immediately goes throughout your entire body. And the endocannabinoid system in the human being is something that we all have, and it's fascinating because it's honestly only in the last 20 years that we're really beginning to study the endocannabinoid system and how
Mhm.
important it is. It's such an important system in the body. The endocannabinoid system goes places that your blood doesn't go, right? Like uh, like cartilage, endocannabinoid system, or let's say cartilage. For instance, in your knee, there's cartilage in between your upper and lower leg,
Mhm.
and blood. There's no veins, blood veins, vessels in your knee.
Uh-huh.
However, the endocannabinoid system does go up there in your ears, in the cartilage in your ears is your endocannabinoid system. And as I said, we're only now beginning to understand how important the endocannabinoid systems are in the body. And
Mhm.
and I'm not saying that to try and get people to consume more and more cannabis, but
Sure.
I think it's significant because there are two very big components to this also. When you're
Mhm.
talking about cannabis and people's reaction, there's still quite a stigma. There's still a lot of people, lots and lots of people who still think cannabis is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing,
Mm.
and that's just very unfortunate. Because again, it's important for our body, and it's a great food source. Medicinally, it can be very important. It can help with a lot of things, and even you know, I was working, as I mentioned, I was working for my brother in New Mexico for a while, and I was with my brother for 2.5 years, and that was medicinal cannabis scenario. So I did spend a lot of time talking to patients and doing research. And at that point in time, this was 10 years ago now.
Huh.
Excuse me.
Sure.
There hadn't been a lot of there's some research done, but um, a lot of the research came out with the intent of describing cannabis as a negative thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's um, when in reality it isn't. And what I tell patients, especially cancer patients at the time, was that um, we don't have a lot of direct evidence, and there is more and more evidence as time goes on about how good cannabis is for cancer. But at the very least, cannabis doesn't react with most other drugs, and that's something, especially in the United States, as people get older, doctors start prescribing them all these medicines,
Mm-hmm.
and cancer doesn't interact with most medicines, and that's good. But aside from that, if you have cancer, some of your biggest problems are a lack of appetite and inability to sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
those are perfect things to take cannabis for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons I take cannabis is because it does help me sleep. And and then the other thing is that it's an.
Mm-hmm.
There are some types of cannabis that you can consume, and then about 30 minutes after you eat it, you start to get really hungry, and you'll
Uh-huh.
actually eat. You'll eat a lot.
Okay.
So
Uh-huh.
when you have cancer, having the ability to sleep and eat can make the difference in your treatment. You know, um,
Mm-hmm.
really, like sleeping a lot is incredibly important to helping the body heal.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you can't eat, then you're not able to uptake a lot of substances that
Sure.
your body really needs
Mm-hmm.
to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was talking, a lot of cannabis patient or a lot of patients who come talk to us in my brother's cannabis store,
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know, I don't think there's anything really to be afraid of with cannabis. And a lot of people come in and they're afraid of just being high, which I understand. If you have no experience, there can be some fear involved there. But really and truly, there's no reason to be afraid. I'd explain to people, and I'd say, let's just start taking a little bit. Start take small dosage on a daily basis. Take it right before you go to sleep, and then you'll see that it can help you sleep. And then you'll wake up and you'll say, "Hey, I'm kind of hungry. I feel like eating."
Mm-hmm.
And and that I'd say let's start in baby steps. Um, Take small amounts. I'll give you a little bit, and then come back in 2 weeks or a month. And let's talk about it. Let's see how if it was effective, if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't enjoy it, or if it helped with your symptoms or helped with the overall problem. And inevitably, it was very, very, very rare that we'd have patients come back and saying, "We don't want any more of this. This is terrible."
Mm-hmm.
I remember a wonderful lady we met. She was in her mid 70s, and she was diagnosed with liver cancer,
Oh.
and she was having a hard time sleeping and eating, and she was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And she came back after a month after we gave her some edibles to try.
Mm-hmm.
And she came back and she's like, I want more.
Uh-huh.
She wanted more than just that small dosage that I recommended that she take right before bed. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start taking a lot more of this. So it was always, I won't say always, but I'd say well over 90% of the time.
Mhm.
treatment was very, very successful.
Mhm.
Mhm. And people, especially if they hadn't had any prior experience, really, really enjoyed it. You know,
Mhm.
it just it calms you, it helps you eat, it relaxes you. You know, it makes food taste better sometimes. THC does have that psychoactive component that kind of adds a very interesting twist on things.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay.
it's like the fascinating thing about consuming cannabis, you can consume cannabis, and it's like you take a journey. You can take a small journey without ever leaving the confines of your living room or bedroom or
Mhm.
wherever it is that you want to consume your cannabis. It's funny that they say it's like taking a trip or tripping, and so
Uh-huh.
you can almost go and visit other places, or and it's not as if you're actually going anywhere, but it's just a mental kind of vacation. That's called.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's call that. Yeah, that's called getting high, mental vacation. I like that one.
Uh-huh. So thank you
Hmm.
so much, Scott. And I was actually typing some more sub questions while you were talking. So I just noted them down, but it's still related to the questions we have. So
Yeah.
for the benefits, let's keep it like for next week. I think you have like tons of benefits. You already mentioned some, like sleep, eating, and all. We'll deep,
Hmm.
and there are like some sub questions that arise. So I'll bring them forward to you also, and maybe we meditate for a short time now,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then let's continue with this topic, because I think we can get a lot of how to say knowledge and lot of things from you,
Hmm.
and this is the
So
topic that many people are frowned upon, no, and many
yeah.
people.
So let's move on. But I have one more show and tell aid. And this is dried cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I keep in a jar. It's good to keep it in a sealed jar in a dark space because
Mm-hmm.
uh, temperature and light do degrade cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is in a jar. This is dried cannabis that I have, but I'd call this cannabis that's much more medicinal in nature because it's very, very high in a cannabinoid called CBD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this was grown by a brother sister team up in Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I smell it because good cannabis has smells and flavors.
Uh-huh.
And those come through in two compounds called flavonoids and terpenes,
Uh-huh.
which are both very important components of the end. And not only do they provide smells and flavor to the cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also some of the stuff that has big effects on the body. And so this is a high CBD strain
Mm-hmm.
grown in Washington State. I didn't break the law having it shipped to me in Texas. Everything I'm showing you here is legal.
Uh-huh.
State of Texas, this stuff here I pulled out does not have THC, which they are trying to outlaw in Texas right now. I don't know if they'll succeed in that or not. We'll see in the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the CBD stuff that I have right here does not make you high, or it's not psychoactive, but it does really relax you. You kind of feel it about 5 to 20 minutes after you consume it, depending on how you consume it. Your shoulders, if they're up here because stress, you're like, "Arr," your shoulders come down, you'll smile, you look outside. Your whole body just kind of relaxes, and
Mm-hmm.
a silly little grin will break across your face. You think about things that make you happy.
Uh-huh.
um, it's again, it's a fantastic magical plant, and I'm grateful that we've had the chance to speak about it, and I look
Sure,
forward to
sure.
speaking about it
Mm-hmm.
as long as anyone's willing to listen to us talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
think.
invite people to jump in and talk about it
Mm,
anytime.
sure, sure, Scott. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experiences. So, we'll definitely continue with the other questions and sub questions that arise, because I think there's some part like many are not talking about it and even in depth. and it's shown as like some demonic thing, or like
Hmm.
in a very dark place, no? And so let's talk about it next week, this day. Maybe we relax and do some
Yeah.
meditation now. Okay.
Okay.
So please sit comfortably. So I'll just bring up a sequence of meditation today. So anybody can use this, and
Okay.
uh, what we are trying to do is like build a balance in our mind. We talk about all topics, but when our intention is to practice meditation also, so just try to
Yes.
relax. You can take a few deep breaths. Take a deep breath, few deep breaths, and just let your body just relax, as if just you are putting down like a fabric. Just if you just let a fabric fall down, or if you like even hang it on some place, it naturally unfolds, right? So likewise, just let your body also just loosen up. And we can do it intentionally also with the breath, breathing in and keeping in the air inside your chest. You can use a count. There are many ways of doing this also. And you exhale from the mouth. So idea is to give more life energy to inside the body and keep it in and let it travel to all corners of the body, and then exhale. And through the exhale, even impurities and things, and there are positives also you can put out. And if you can combine the body relaxation with the breath, that is very helpful. So you can, even if you have done practices to like relax for relaxation, you can use. And then let's try. So this meditation is actually as supporting meditations. So this helps us to like in a way reduce our, how to say, desire sides. Desire means unwholesome desires. So it's very simple. You just focus. We'll add a little bits more later on. Uh, So usually, if there's a balance in the desire side as well as the anger side, you can have a neutral mind or stable mind. So just take like there are 32 parts and all, but we just take maybe the first five, which are visible. The head hair, and you can take your eyebrow as the body hair, because we just need some places for like representation only. Okay, the head hair. So even if we shave, there are like we can go to the ends of the head hair, right, where they start. And you can, if it's a man, they can use their beard even, but like the eyebrows, they stay, no? Very rarely, like some monks, they shave uh, just to show that they have renounced that also, and the head also, no? And so, but still, you can. There are bristles, no? You can focus on them, and the eyebrows or something, or the bristles of that, or your beard. Uh, so a lady can focus on her hair and her eyebrows. So it's just to focus on that specific area or part of the body. So it's head hair, then second is body hair. So you just go, because if you think about other places, it can go in a different direction, no? One might feel disgusted, or even it's like more like lust can appear. But the idea is to balance it, right? Uh, so we just think about head hair, body hair. Then think about one of your fingernails. We have like in our hands and legs both, but we need a place of representation only. So you can move, though you are in closed eyes, you can use like your fingernail. And then teeth for sure. But we have like 32 teeth or less, so But we can just use one area and just feel the teeth. And then you can use, though the skin is everywhere covering our body, just use an area in your face, like skin. We just need a representation only. Okay, so it's head hair. Go to that exact places. It will bring mindfulness, awareness, alertness, lot of things. Head hair, then go to your eyebrow, body hair, then one maybe your thumbnail or some place you can feel. Maybe move it and feel it at that time. So nails, then teeth, and then come to place skin. Okay, head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. So these are ancient methods. I'm not making things up. They are called Tachapanchaka. Five, a group of five. Kesa is head hair, Loma is body hair, Naka is nails, Danta is teeth, Tacho is skin. So they use this. No, they knew this, right? So Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, Tacho. So like the head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. So you can rotate your mind along that. Head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. Head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. Okay? Head hair. So what happens is when you focus on those areas, we'll upgrade these maybe next week. Okay? You get a sense of your body,
Okay.
and then not only that, because though these are represented, they are in most places of the body, right? Some parts, for example, the skin, or some like the body hair, even nails we have on our hands as well as our toes. So it covers a wide range, and these are things we see normally, either through a mirror or we can have a glance downwards and we see, no, in our body. So head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. So we'll do the upgrade later on. For now, if you can just do it as a practice, it will make you aware of your body. And then what we can do is slowly take your attention. Now you know how you are seated. For the anger side, you can use as supportive meditation, loving kindness meditation. Okay. So 5 minutes of relaxation, 5 minutes of that head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. uh, and then we can switch to loving kindness meditation. So more we do, the better results or the destination of like having peace or harmony, uh, or happiness can be achieved. So take yourself as the meditation object, and we use the ancient verses, which we will do upgrades also of this. These are just like the tip of the iceberg, uh, but yet it's also effective. So take yourself as the meditation object and think, may I be free from either anger or any kind of thing, like if you feel agitated, tired, stressed, you can use anything like that. But the rest of the other three sentences, we use the same. May I be free from mental pain. May I be free from physical pain. May I live happily and peacefully. Okay, may I be. If you say anger, all counts. Stress, anxiety, agitation, frustration, tiredness, annoyance, all this can be added. Even anger, hate, and everything. Even jealousy comes under this. And then, may I be free from mental pain. May I be free from physical pain. May I live happily and peacefully. So these are the four verses. Now slowly take your attention to the breath. Slowly take your attention to the breath and focus on the area from the tip of your nose to your upper lip area, the small triangular area. But you don't have to force yourself, because we are always breathing unless some difficulty arises, or when we are in our mother's womb. There are some instances that breath stops, but they have mentioned this also, no? And but usually we breathe even in our sleep. So we just use that because it's a natural process. So it's soothing, like looking at the ocean, looking at a river or a stream, looking, just listening to the rain or looking at the rain or the sky. These are natural things, right? So it calms the mind, it soothes the mind. So we cannot be in those places all the time. But with breath, we can always be there, no? So it's very easy, it's always near you. So just focus on that. If you want, do some intentional breathing and see how the breath touches that region and goes into your body, and how it touches that region and goes out of your body. It's like waves coming and waves going. And it actually soothes the mind because it's a neutral object. You cannot say the breath was good or breath was bad. I mean, like, breathing wise, right? Some people talk about bad breath. No, that's not that. Yeah. So that's from the mouth usually, right? So, but here we are talking from the nostrils. That's the life energy we are taking, and then, and then exhale. But if you want, if you if the mind is wandering, use like two words: uh, inhale, exhale, or breathing in, of a couple of words, just to keep on track. Breathing in and breathing out, just to know. But if you can, just be with the natural breath. Eventually, we are learning how to be with the natural breath. So, gurus, saints, rishis, uh, all like even people like Buddhas, other holy saints, and all, they say at some point we have to learn how to be with the natural. Uh, we are doing so many external things now, but it's so difficult to do the simplest, it seems. So we just have to wind down and let things calm down. Actually, we don't have to do much even. It's like placing a glass of water on the table. The glass of water, it's fragile, no? Like our body. Huh? And then the water is like the mind. So the best way to calm it down is just leave it on a table, sit back, relax, and just watch it settle down. Because the water always has that natural tendency to settle down. So we are also that actually, yeah? Most of us. Most of what we call us, no? The body. So just if you can do 5 to 10 minutes of relaxation, 5 to 10 minutes of that five parts of the body: head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin. Take your mind to the specific place. There are actually 32 parts, but here we can use the first five parts even. Uh, and in another place, they multiply it by adding another 10, it becomes 42. But no problem. We can just do as a supporting meditation with the first five parts: head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin. Just rotate it: head hair, body hair, but go to those exact places. And then loving kindness meditation, the four verses, these are also ancient verses, though we have translations in each other's languages of ours, but it's like, may I be free from anger, may I be free from mental pain, may I be free from physical pain, may I live happily and peacefully. So if you can do 5 to 10 minutes of this, and then the breath. So all these practices, that also 5 to 10 minutes is possible. And if you can do one time in the morning, one time in the evening, evening time you can use for relaxation. The morning time, if you're a busy person, you can use for like the growth process of these meditations, the mind and the body. So with that, let us wrap up for today. And so please update me, Scottos. You also, we always have contact. So we can bring these. These are different parts themselves. And they can make a balance, because usually it's our greedy side taking over or anger side. It's like two sides of the coin. I'm not telling people are horrible or anything like that. No, nobody is. But sometimes some of these take over, and sometimes it can go out of control even. And it's like a coin, it can flip so easily. What we are craving for, later on, it can bring like anger or frustration. Huh? Say something we really liked. Maybe it's a vehicle or even a watch or computer, what you use, or even a human being, right? Then the very next moment, it can be a reason that we feel upset or sad or stressed. So these two can flip. So if we find a balance within that, uh, and on top of that, if we can play something like breathing meditation, oh my goodness, it will be like a boost of many things to come. Uh, So we kind of like flatten the ground and make it smooth with those two practices. And with breathing, so we lay out the starting point, as if we are removing the thorns and all these things, and getting prepared to flatten the land, like we are with the relaxations, and we are balancing those aspects with those two meditations, supporting meditations. And on top of that, like the structure we want to build, uh, on that base we are trying to build something like with our main meditation or like breathing meditation. Okay. And Scott, please, like we'll discuss on that even when you start of the program or anything. There's no problem, we can talk about meditations also. And thank you so much, and definitely we'll go deeper and deeper into like cannabis in 2025, which was a great topic you selected. And I have many questions to ask now, so let's continue with that. So thank you so much, Scott, and hopefully let's continue this topic more and more, and with many other topics also. And anybody is most welcome to join in, Scott and me, and we can ask. And even when you see these videos and all, you can ask plenty of questions, and we can answer them. Okay.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you
That was
so much,
lovely.
Scott.
And thanks for joining us.